said this to Tucker Carlson on television. I said, I'm going to be buying the top forever. No, it's okay. Now, everybody's got to do their thing. The short's got to be short. The long's got to be long. The trader's got to trade. The hater's got to hate. This is a global monetary asset. It is worthy of attention. If it's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million.
Yep.
And that's where we find ourselves today. I think it's an important milestone because when you get to the 100, to the 6-figure level, I think it sends the message to people that Bitcoin is here to stay. I think there's been multiple stages of Bitcoin, right? There were the early years when it wasn't clear what it was or whether it would survive. Then there were the block size war years when there was a big fight over the identity of Bitcoin and what was Bitcoin and what wasn't Bitcoin. And then I think from 2020 to 2024, I would say those were the crazy years, but there was the big question was, is Bitcoin an institutional grade asset? Will it be embraced by governments, by corporations, by institutions, by traditional capital markets? And there was back and forth, and there was a lot of skepticism. And, some people said it's too good to be true. Some people said it's so good they'll ban it. Some people said, well, there'll be a little bit, but it won't be much. And then there's a big fight over, is it a currency or is it capital? And I think that since November 5th, right, we've seen kind of a surge from like 68, 67, all the way through 100. I think the answer that's been questioned, the question that's been answered is Bitcoin here to stay? Is it an institutional grade asset? Will it be embraced by the wealth and the power of the world? And I think busting through 100,000 is a numeric punctuation to the emphatic answer to that question, which is yes.
Yeah.
I think we crawled out of the valley of the crypto winter, and we crawled, recovered back into the 30s or the 40s, and then I think we got into 2024, and I think in 2024, we started with some cautious optimism, Bitcoin grinding up, a lot of questions about the rest of the digital assets economy, but Bitcoin, recovering from the bottom on its own without help from anybody. And then we got the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. And then we had the halving. And the consequences of the halving were a number of things. One, there was a big secular rotation of capital from a bunch of Bitcoin miners to MicroStrategy. The options market in Bitcoin moved from the miners to MicroStrategy. So all of a sudden, MicroStrategy emerged as, a leading volatility, liquidity trade in the crypto ecosystem. And we became aware of that. And I think the second thing is 450 Bitcoin a day, which is $45 million a day of selling, got taken out of the market. And so the supply tightened, or the natural supply tightened, the market matured, the ETFs legitimized the asset class, and we went into the summer. And it was a big summer, the summer where the Trump campaign, first of all, caught a huge amount of electricity in the greater political economy. And then Trump embraced Bitcoin and embraced crypto. And the crypto community and the Bitcoin community embraced Trump. That took us into the November 5th elections. And two things kind of happened around that time frame. On October 30th, MicroStrategy announced our 21-21 plan. We had basically gone and done one convert, a second convert, a third convert, a fourth convert, and a few $1 billion of ATM issuance. So we had raised quite a bit of capital, but we were doing it piecemeal, quarter by quarter, and we decided it was time for us to be more strategic. So we announced a $21 billion equity shelf registration and a $21 billion fixed income plan over 3 years. That was the biggest equity shelf registration in the history of capital markets. So no one ever sold $21 billion of equity like that, ever, right? And that kind of flies past some people, because it's like, what I'm saying is, like, out of every company, ever.
Right.
Never done before.
The Bitcoin demand and the Bitcoin company did it.
Yeah, one Bitcoin company did it. And of course, we did it because we have the world's best use of proceeds, right? The first time in human history, you have a commodity that returns higher than the S&P with higher volatility than the S&P. So you have 60 vol, 60 ARR on Bitcoin going for many years versus 15 for the S&P. Now you had a commodity, high vol, high performance. You can put 100% of your balance sheet. Well, that means in theory you can issue infinite equity, right? I mean, as long as you can return more than the S&P. Every other commodity, I mean, real estate, art, gold, it's 10 vol, 10 ARR, 7 vol, 7 ARR, 5. So everything other than Bitcoin was always less than the cost of capital. MicroStrategy, we kind of discovered a crypto reactor that could be fueled by Bitcoin, and we put a crypto reactor in the middle of our company. It's kind of like turning on a nuclear reactor or putting an internal combustion engine in a horseless carriage. And, that's what we learned in 2024. And we came in October 30th and we said, this is what we're going to do. And that was very well received by the capital markets. That was a big success.